Welcome to Hidden Gem or Hidden Trash. The first contender in this list is Brandish. Originally released on the Super Nintendo and then remade for the PSP on a digital format. It was developed by Falcom and it acts as a top-down view dungeon crawler. So let's find out the positive and the negative about it. Story in this game is quite good actually, about a sorceress seeking revenge on a swordsman who slayed her master. An accident leads them to the ruins of a kingdom and they must escape separately. Helping the sorceress or not also influences the ending of the game. Now, Brandish is an action RPG that gives you the impression of being a roguelike, but in reality it's not. Yes, you are locked into 4 directions to move and attack, but it's not made in turns. Instead, everything occurs in real time. It does share some similarities with roguelike RPGs, like finding items to equip and weapon durability. However, it's more friendly than that. Basically, you'll see puzzles of having to find the key to unlock a door and so on. Bosses will be tough, but fun at the same time, as they all have a different way to attack you. Meaning there's also a different way to defeat them. Brandish has one of the most sexualized female characters ever in a JRPG. Super Nintendo version, she was censored. PSP was not. Don't let that bother you, as Della is a twisted and dark antagonist that actually in the PSP remake became a playable character. Yep, there are entire missions with her, but her route is harder than the original. So the positive is awesome premise, challenging gameplay, funny but cool antagonist, a remake with 1 extra playable character, and interesting boss battles. I praised the story before, right? Unfortunately, we barely see a focus on this plot and the character development is almost non-existent. Some scenes are really interesting to watch, but they will only leave you wanting for more. Since your character can only move in 4 directions, controls are then somewhat clunky. Some enemies will attack you from the back or the rear, and that can be a total drag. The worst aspect of this game though is the puzzles. Going from point A to point B just to get a damn key or an item and then having to return to point A? Well, that's like the entire game in a nutshell. So just imagine how repetitive it is. Lastly, graphics and music are nice, but they don't really stand out. So the negative is lack of plot/character development, highly repetitive gameplay, and some clunky controls here and there. To be honest, I've seen people reject these kinds of games for the aforementioned reasons. Let's just say it's not for everybody. In my personal opinion though, it's a fun RPG with positive aspects that are good enough for me. Therefore, I deem this game as a hidden gem. Released on the PlayStation 3, 4 and Vita, Natural Doctrine is a strategy RPG that's mostly known for being extremely hard to get into. It has a highly unique battle system, so let's find out if the game itself is any good. Natural Doctrine takes you straight to the first dungeon when it starts. Revolves around a group of guard soldiers sent to destroy goblins and other monsters. All this to get various resources for humankind. So it's kind of a post-apocalyptic setting with some steampunk elements. Cool! The overall layout of the game impresses you a little bit, mainly thanks to the neat character design. The world itself offers a cool perspective in its many ruins, enhancing your mood for exploration. Battle system takes place in long grids with your characters moving around to take position and or cover. However, it is still played in turns with a strong sense of strategy. Last but not least, it has an online multiplayer mode to fight in matches with other people. I wanted to mention that because it's rare to see one in tactical JRPGs. Positive aspects are interesting premise, cool character design, and a multiplayer mode. Yeah, I admit the premise was great and it hooked me at first. Then I met the characters and the overall plot became dull, idiotic, and totally cliché. Even though it has a great cast of voice actors, they didn't do a very good job, especially considering the script was a total mess. Graphics are neat alright, but they look more like they belong on the PS2 or early PS3. Music is just forgettable, so let's just not talk about it. Now the battle system. This atrocity is the perfect example on how the term unique doesn't always mean positive. It is, without a doubt, the most convoluted, hard to understand, and unmanageable combat I've ever seen. I understood a few things, thanks to its extremely tedious and long-ass tutorials. But still, I failed to get into it. I feel even if I had properly understood everything, I still would have hated the game. It's beyond boring, tedious, and annoying how they wanted to mix things like shooting in third person, limitations per areas, choosing the right character for this and that. I swear it all feels very painful to play. Because of this, it's a brutally hard game, but for the wrong reasons. Negative aspects are bad story and cast of characters, horrible and convoluted battle system, lame graphics and music, tedious tutorials, and obnoxious gameplay mechanics. Natural Doctrine tries so hard, so damn hard to be the most unique and original strategy RPG of all time. Let me tell ya, it fails so miserably it's cringe-worthy. Therefore, I deem this game as hidden trash. Next contender is Shining Force Neo. After leaving Sega, original developers of Shining Force joined Nintendo. Sega, however, kept the rights to the series, so they started turning them into action RPGs. Neo was the first Diablo clone of this kind, so let's find out the good and the bad about it. Combine the Diablo battle system and Musou a la Dynasty Warriors and you'll meet Shining Force Neo. Just beating the crap out of everything and everyone can feel satisfying at times. You have a variety of creatures, characters and enemies, so it delivers an extensive adventure. I think for PS2, middle-of-the-road RPG graphics and music were decent. If anything, the game does offer a unique perspective on the Shining series. Now, it's not just kill all monsters to get the job done. Sometimes, different objectives will be presented here, such as defending certain places, people, etc. So the challenge is there, considering it's also grindy, making it a tough action RPG to play, especially with some of the bosses. Positive features are as follows: fun hack-and-slash action, challenging boss battles, and a variety of mission objectives. Let's talk first about the story. I'll say it outright. It's bad. Characters, specifically the protagonist, are often unlikable and quite moronic. To be honest, this Max guy is one of the lamest heroes I've ever seen in a JRPG. He's just the usual lazy bard dragging all kinds of stereotypes around him. Sure, I said that Diablo-style action was fun, but controls feel clunky and clumsy. Often you'll be forced to abuse healing items because the battles can easily get out of control. And trust me, that just isn't fun anymore. The difficulty spikes are incredibly annoying because of the lack of checkpoints or save areas. Oh, and your party members will give you a false sense of trust when sometimes they'll feel totally useless. I know I said also the graphics and music were acceptable, and they are, but in reality, you can just forget about them because both the story and the battle system are beyond mediocre. Negative features are as follows: terrible story, terrible characters, nerve-wracking difficulty spikes, clunky controls, and mediocre presentation. In my opinion, the next Diablo clone, Shining Force EXA, did everything much better, so I strongly suggest you play that instead. Yep, you guessed it, I deem this game as hidden trash. The last contender in this list is a grid-based strategy RPG called Vanguard Bandits. Known in Japan as Epica Stella, developed by Human Entertainment, creators of the Clock Tower series, let's find out the positive and the negative about it. Most games localized by working designs were good. That logo just meant quality. In terms of story, Vanguard Bandits easily delivered. It centers around a political conflict between kingdoms all around the Mecca, giant armors that are used by several nations mostly to expand their territories. You take control of a civil war started by a group of characters and a small militia to stop the invasions. The game offers several routes to follow, affected by the early decisions the player makes. Each offers sometimes different outcomes, missions, and party members. Grid-based strategy at its best shows us the isometric beauty of Vanguard Bandits, an RPG where you'll control the characters in their mechs. Once they go into battle, these cool animations will play as if resembling a 3D fighting game. Several actions give it diversity, such as its different types of attacks, or the passive ones, such as avoid or counter. Music is amazing here, especially the menu theme, which became legendary in its own niche. So, the positive? Great story, great battle system, awesome music, unique gameplay mechanics, and different routes to follow. This means it has a lot of replay value. One negative aspect this game has that can turn down a lot of gamers is the fatigue system. You see, every single action takes up AP, or rather action points, so you won't be able to do whatever you want whenever you want. But attacking produces fatigue points. After a few of these, the pilots become unable to do anything. However, in this game, it is played quite clever and not as dangerous as in other strategy RPGs. Still, it can be a bit of a pain sometimes. Well, it will surprise you, but I have nothing else negative to say about this game. So in conclusion, it's just the fatigue system, a characteristic that can easily be a bother every now and then. Other than that, this is a fantastic game, easily one of the absolute best I've covered in this series. I don't need to emphasize the fact then that I deem this game as a super hidden gem. We have reached the end. Those were my 4 picks for today's video. As usual, I encourage everybody out there to play them and decide if they're hidden gems or hidden trash. Let's meet up again in a future episode with even more crazy contenders. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends. See you next time!
I have feelings of content now. True, it's my fate that haunts me. I feel the hands of time advancing. A wind